Greetings, friends. I am Vitaly Portnikov. After meeting with NATO Secretary General Mark Rutte, the President of the United States Donald Trump relented. The position concerning Greenland and refused to conduct tariffs against European countries. The threat that he made a few days ago, and which has become one of the most serious triggers in the relationship. Relations between allies for the entire year of Donald Trump's tenure in the Oval Office. A threat that, by the way, has also called into question the achievement of economic understanding between the United States and the European Union after the European Parliament. He refused the final implementation of the trade agreement reached last year between President Trump and the head of the European Commission, Ursula von der Leyen. Now, as if it's about complete control. There is no United States over Greenland. Donald Trump has agreed to the scheme, according to which will be revised Danish agreement on the United States on the island. The United States will not only increase its military presence there, but will also receive parts of Greenland's territory for sovereign use, where it will be able to place its military bases. Mark Rutte, judging by media reports, proposed to Donald Trump a scheme that resembles the status enjoyed by British military bases in Cyprus. These territories have been under sovereign administration for many decades. Great Britain, and thus are not subject to the government in Nicosia. And even the conflict between the two parts of Cyprus has not changed this British sovereignty. However, it is unknown how final is a similar agreement. It is unknown how big American territorial claims in Greenland will be, and how negotiations between Washington and Copenhagen will take place in general. European officials on the sidelines of the international. After the economic summit in Davos, they say that after the appearance of encouraging reports about the meeting between Trump and Rutte, you should not relax, because Donald Trump's speech itself at the international. The Economic Forum has not gone away. And during this speech, the President of the United States spoke absolutely unequivocally about the need for control over Greenland and over the whole of Greenland. And there is no official confirmation that the President of the United States has changed. Words of Donald Trump that Greenland should be part of the Golden Domes. Thus, we are talking about the security of not only the United States, but also of the whole of Europe, which can hardly serve as a clear explanation of what is happening. Well, if only because we understand that the issue of the deployment of American military bases on the island does not necessarily have to be accompanied by the sovereignty of the Americans over these military bases. And over the past decades, the United States, not only did they not develop the system of their military bases in Greenland, but on the contrary, they reduced the number of these bases and the personnel who are involved in them. And so far, there is no indication that the Pentagon is strengthening the American military offer. Presence on the island. The press secretary of President Trump, Carol Leviticus, clearly said that Trump is interested in natural mineral resources in Greenland. And it is also possible to explain, given how the United States depend on getting rare earth metals from the People's Republic of China, which literally can hold the American economy by the throat, which was demonstrated by the chairman of the People's Republic of China, Xi Jinping, after attempts Trump to start a full-fledged tariff war with Beijing. However, first of all, it is unknown how serious and profitable the deposits that are located on the territory of Greenland are today, and whether American companies are ready to work not only over the extraction but above all over the exploration of these minerals. Secondly, to what extent will Donald Trump agree that this exploration and production will take place on the sovereign territory of Denmark and Greenland, and will not be used by the United States? And thirdly, to what extent the very idea of security is not used. I use Donald Trump solely for the sake of access to these minerals. And therefore, after talking with the NATO Secretary General, and perhaps realizing that it will not be possible to establish control over Greenland in a simple way, the American president may simply lose, in a few days, interest in the topic and not return to it, at least for some time. So, by the way, it has already happened with Greenland. Donald Trump recalled the island during his first stay in the Oval Office. He quickly lost interest in buying Greenland, and then remembering the importance of Greenland, literally in the first days of his stay in the White House. I lost interest in this topic for almost 10-11 months. And Trump's aggravation of the Greenland theme happened just on the eve of the International Economic Forum. Maybe it is in order to talk tough with the Europeans during this meeting, or to try to exchange the Greenland issue for guarantees. The security of Ukraine, which in any case, as long as the Russian-Ukrainian war continues, and the American-Russian negotiations are going on about nothing, are as ephemeral as many other economic and political projects. Donald Trump. But in any case, for the time being, Europe is counting on some kind of official formalization of the new American position. Russian President Vladimir Putin openly mocks his American counterpart, recalls the sale of Alaska, talks about the amounts that the United States could pay of Denmark for the purchase of the island, trying to translate the amount that the Russian Empire had to Alaska. On the money now you would help out for the purchase of this territory, or for the purchase of Greenland, in a word, openly brags about the collapse of modern international law, in which he is not the only one participating now. And this is perhaps the most tangible version of the Greenland scandal that we have seen in recent days. And even the settlement of the situation is unlikely to clarify the answer to the simplest question. And international law in general will continue in the coming years and decades, or disappear as a vestige from the recent past. Thank you, friends. Stay on this channel, subscribe to it, subscribe to my social networks, to the channels in Patreon, BAME Coffee and Donatella, which helps to develop these resources. Use the sponsorship feature in YouTube itself. Peace be upon you.